Hello, Elizabeth. Are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So I guess no more practice for us, right? Just
Yeah,
just
I'm starting
know
the
if I
music.
send out, if I say get ready to share the link, the links I want you to have ready is our social media handles ready,
Okay.
and a
Okay.
link to the policy brief, and a link to our website. So if I say it, just be able to share it. You get me?
Okay. All right.
Let me start playing music.
Okay.
Okay, right? Yeah, let me start playing music because people are starting to get here.
You're not gonna listen to the lyrics of the song. You can as well skip the song and take it to the next, to the next, to the next level.
Yeah, how I wish we could get down to the ish. You know who it is the Emma, Anna, must be to think that I get away, with the ish that I say, let's go. I must flow, I must speak, I must crow. I'm not a chicken, I'm a rooster. I'm not afraid to speak, so I let it out when I'm supposed to. Yeah, I must flow, I must speak, I must crow. I'm not a chicken, I'm a rooster. I'm not afraid to speak, so I let it out when I'm supposed to. Ajabotas like me, if you know you wanna crow, say cock-a-doodle-doo. Yo, all the Ajabotas in the house, if you know you wanna crow, say cock-a-doodle-doo. Yeah. Too much propaganda. Good for the gooses and good for the gander. Man always has a selfish agenda. President, sweep evidence under veranda. Me, I'm a public defender. I'm an editor with no footage, what shall I render? No retreat, no surrender. See, I fight for my rights like Miranda. We have a former head of state whose rap is still living larger. Police IG who was stealing while in charge. Governors arrested for embezzlement. Politicians killed cause they're relevant or just for the hell of it. Everyone's scared, nobody wanna get killed. So we chill till they steal and they finish till they fail. And still we like hell, just a couple hundred mil. But now I'm gonna talk to the truth is revealed. I must talk, I must flow, I must speak, I must crow. I'm not a chicken, I'm a rooster. I'm not afraid to speak, so I let it out when I'm supposed. I must flow, I must speak, I must crow. I'm not a
Elizabeth? Elizabeth?
I'm here.
Elizabeth? What happened?
I have no idea. Just went out and came back in.
Okay.
Let's go. Yeah. Push your car down. Left, 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 left. Ha. Push it down full. Left.
Okay.
Phone handler. Came back to set a new standard. More bread, more butter, more plata. More Fanta, no cook, no ganja. So gifted that he must know Santa. No slander. Let him heal his reign, more banter. Them a wonder, them a panda. How a short black boy came conquer. From a leg of his Benz to a Honda. To a crib from the bridge he was under. Did he do Yahoo? Did he landa? Now chicks full of bumper to bumper. See awards everywhere in the bunker. There's a chocolate boss, Willy Wonka. Yeah. Yo, back with my new flows. For the club, for the street, for the studio. In my new crib, new car, new clothes. Same actor, different year, new boss. I'm a bad guy who knows sharp guys, who know fly guys, who pop new flow. And the champagne do flow anytime we celebrate, cause we generate new dough. And we off to conquer a new coast. Anywhere the game has got loopholes. All these rappers that be forming I2 knows. They can't keep up, they need glucose. Where did M come from, man? Who knows? No other rap sound like Judo's. And he's not alone, he's got two bros. For the 2010, who those Shout City boys say, yeah. Enemies all around trying to injure. MI hold it down in the center. Cause I'm championship like Inter. These dudes can't reach where I've been to. Got a mooch at the flow, can't censor. And I stand all alone like a rental. But I'm gentle, so simple. I'm a mentor. See, every time I flow, I'm a penta. Hip hop's in trouble, I'm a saver. C City, Loopy. Welcome to MI the movie. When the boom boom becomes the bang bada. When the bang bada becomes the bing bing. When the bing bing becomes the ro ro ro. Shit ro 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 becomes the ja ja ja. I'm so crazy star. 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 I'm so crazy start. Let's face the fact that the people are slim and the governor's fat and the people laboring only the organ relax. It's just a matter of time the people gonna react. People wanna eat but there is no money at all, so they gotta be sharp cause the governor's dull. People struggle and toil, others are shopping the mall. Some people cook with coil, others are chopping the oil. So when the voters start to protest, it's because we notice that there isn't progress. We know the low ass and the poor ass are living in grotesque conditions, so condition cause the unrest. You don't need to be a psychic to notice majority of our population living hopeless. So if the 90% are now the brokest, then you know you're gonna find fire where the smoke is. When the boom becomes the bang bada, when the bang bada becomes the bing bing, when the bing bing becomes the ru ru, shit ru ru, becomes the ja ja ja. I'm so crazy star, 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 I'm so crazy star. That's so crazy start for university class. Even if you study, you must know somebody to pass. No light in the hostel, no light in the class. No water, man. Students buying water to bath. 10 students, one room, all of them shedding mattress. Plus, the room is meant for those who plenty of cash. The lecturer just told my girlfriend that he liking her ass. If she wanna pass the class, she gotta give him the nyash. And when the boom boom becomes the bang bada, when the bang bada becomes the bing bing, when the
When it's bright and early, get your breakfast right. You need all the nutrients that will hold you tight. Stay in power, you find it all in peak. Every move you make.
Put your lighters in the air. Oh, put your lighters in the air. Oh. High on that
you know me now, normally I don't ask me that, usually I won't. Too much stress, so tonight I gotta just give it the lioness. Roll it, light it, puff it, pass it. Instant classic. Yeah, we gon' blend on this, gang. Listen up, Mr. Emma. Yeah, my music like marijuana. You wanna get high, brother, you die smoking that wanna. But my flow's nutritious like a banana, so luscious like the savannah. They come from my Indiana. I got the southern game like in Louisiana. Or before I surround your head like a bandana. You searching for nirvana, you give your mama drama, trauma, but I got that grammar that get you to a new state of mind. That's the reason that my ish was initially designed. No matter the matter, we got a lot of hotter beats by Jagger. This Sabaga be flowing on top of this raga with swagger. My ish get you hooked like nicotine. At the same time, my rhymes build like protein. So if you wanna fly, let me get you high off an eye. You can touch the sky. You know me now, normally I don't. Pass me that.
Who is this one showing us?
Too much stress, so tonight I gotta just give me the roll it, light it, puff it, pass it. Yeah, instant classic. Let me introduce me, see. My full name be Jesse Garbaga. Feeling my vibe, you my tribe here from Taraba. My dad didn't wanna let me do music. While the music I don't want me, so I guess music was hotter. Now I'm blazing them raps from the back to the front. And I say what's on my mind, so I always keep it blunt. Music is me, so music me, casa, so music answer all the questions that's on my tabula rasa. Music take me high like a spaceship from NASA. King of Babylon, I'm a lion, I'm Mufasa. Saga, with the Jagger for you. We hotter than lava, the bag of us for you. So come and party with us. If you feeling that vibe, get rowdy with us. We's about to touch the sky, so get cloudy with us. And I tell ya, get yada with us. So we go, yeah, you know me now, normally I don't. Ask me that, usually I won't. Too much stress, so tonight I gotta just give me the lines. Roll it, light it, puff it, pass it. I spray, instant classic. It's dope for the boys puffing these, yeah. So intoxicating, got them all feeling these, yeah. Yo, check me as I rap rhymes on papers. Smoke down a house and raise up them skyscrapers. Now once this ganja my deliver. Batman, Rastafari, splendor, rhyme giver. FR, drop rhymes, I burn your body liver. Temperature's high, so their bodies all quiver. Yeah, boys, pass the raps around the room. You're cleaning, you're the best man to walk behind the groom. I spell doom.
Sorry. Welcome, everyone. My name is Chime Asonye. I am the founder of Nigerian Mental Health, and I'd like to welcome you all today to our launch of the Suicide Decriminalization in Nigeria Policy Brief, which is part of our Suicide Not Crime Nigeria campaign. This conversation is, you guys can hear me, right? Yes? You guys can hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can
Yeah.
hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Thank you. I saw somebody said your mic is off. So this launch is a partnership with change.org and also Nigeria Health Watch. And we have a great lineup of speakers for you today. We have recording artist and entrepreneur MI who will be joining us. We have Dr. Atanet Lekki, who's an educator, former Big Brother Niger contestant, who will be joining us. We have Nigeria's mental health program coordinator, Dr. Tunde Ejo. We have as well the deputy chairman of Nigeria's House Committee on Justice and myself. So please welcome you all to this conversation as well. Nigerian Mental Health is a global community of mental health practitioners and persons with disabilities, with over 30 mental health organizations as members, actively working to improve psychosocial well-being. It was founded in 2019 to connect people in Nigeria and the diaspora to strengthen the Nigerian mental health programming through our community of practice and partnerships. Primarily, we have four objective areas. One is connecting Nigerians actively focused on advancing mental health. Second is amplifying and strengthening members' individual efforts on mental health related issues. The third is increasing awareness of knowledge and resources focused on Nigeria, Pan-African diaspora mental health. And the fourth is what this program is based on, conducting programming that is focused on transformational and sustainable change in Nigeria's mental health landscape. Our programs are focused on 3 areas. One is policy advocacy, the other is data and information, and the fourth is wellness. This initiative is part of our policy advocacy focus on our 2 policy advocacy goals, which are to pass and implement the National Mental Health Act, and also to decriminalize and decrease and prevent suicide. So what are the objectives of today's session? First, you guys may or may not be aware, but September is a special month. During September, we honor National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, and Nigeria is unfortunately one of the epicenters of suicide in globally. We are the 7th when it comes to suicide rate on the continent, and we're the 15th largest globally. So marking this important day is critical as when we address issues of suicide. Second is discussing mental health in general and suicide prevention in Nigeria. Not only is this Suicide Prevention Month, but next month is on the heels and shadows of World Mental Health Day, which is actually October 10th. And then finally, it's really important when we talk about psychological well-being and vulnerability that we share evidence-based insights from NMH, from our efforts. And so one of our research efforts has been this policy brief to decriminalize attempted suicide. So we'll be sharing some of the insights and information from that session. How will this session proceed? We are doing our introductions and welcomes now. After that, we're going to proceed with goodwill messages from our partners. We'll discuss the policy brief so people understand the context of what's bringing us here today. We'll have featured remarks from our panelists. I know some of them have been messaging me saying that they've been having some online issues with the rain and things like that. But we'll have featured remarks from our panelists. Finally, we'll have group pictures so we can commemorate this moment. And then we'll open this conversation up to the audience and we'll have questions, answers. So just a little bit of history so people understand how we've gotten here and what suicide not crime is. Suicide not crime really began in December 2022. And a network of organizations, this includes professional organizations, this includes, and the 4 leading mental health organizations that includes civil society organizations. We got together and we made a press statement following National Assembly's passage of the Mental Health Act. And one of the things we said is that if there's going to be a Mental Health Act that was actually, we helped pass at the end of last year, if we're going to have a Mental Health Act, then we need to make sure that allows people to get help and have help-seeking behavior. We need to make sure that the regulatory environment for mental health is conducive. And unfortunately, if you criminalize people who have suicidal ideation, they don't want to get help from their friends, their family, according to the World Health Organization. So 40+ organizations signed on to that, and that was shared to policymakers, et cetera. After that, we started a campaign, and you can see here with change.org, we started a campaign. We've already have almost 5,000 signatures to get more public awareness and also to show decision makers and policymakers that this is an important issue. More recently, during World Health Day, we actually had a national press conference in collaboration with the Commission on Persons with Disabilities and with the National Human Rights Commission, along with Nigerian mental health members that you can see there at the bottom on the left screen, and to make sure that we continue to get public awareness about this intention and get key MDAs and government officials connected and involved. Here you can see part of the Coalition for Change. This is representative of the largest mental health organizations in the country, from MANI to professional organizations like the National Association of Clinical Psychologists, to persons with disability organizations like JONAPED. And so this is a mass movement. And so we've been working collectively to see how we can spread awareness on this issue and help decriminalize attempted suicide. Now, with this said, you see all these individuals who are partners for change, but there's really been a lot of special individuals and organizations that have helped make this particular event possible. And I'd just like to give them a recognition real quick. One is Mental Health with Diddy. We have Itoju. We have Mentally Aware Nigeria Initiative, Manny. We have Mental Health Youth Initiative. We have Neem Foundation. We have Raven Strategic Communications. We have Sunshine Series. And of course, our partners today, Nigeria Health Watch and Change.org. And that doesn't mean that a lot of other individuals haven't had a hand, but I really feel like those organizations deserve special recognition for getting the word out here and bringing attention to this issue today. So with that background, I'm going to pass it over to one of our partners that I hope is here, but it's hard to kind of tell with the screen. Wale from change.org, are you here?
I'm here. Thank you, Jimmy.
Okay. Do you want to let me... so Wale, who's the country director from change.org, will be sharing a few words with us. Go ahead, Wale.
Thank you so much, Chime, for organizing this. And it's while it's not a topic that people like to talk about, I want to just say thank you for your courage in making this happen. I think it's becoming the reality that we need to bring this conversation to the front, especially given the data you just even shared with us. And I'm hoping that this conversation will not stop here, but this is the beginning of a bigger coalition, because we do need to talk about these issues. We do need to have African society typically has always been an Ubuntu sort of philosophy. And I think that we shouldn't lose that, particularly because we're in a moment where we're just recovering from COVID. We just recovered from the impact, and we're now beginning to see the impact, and we're seeing what is also going on in our own country, the pressure economically and the pressure psychologically. And we need to begin to think about a collective action around this issue. So this is just to say thank you so much, Chime, for leading this. And I'm hoping that today, all our, everyone here would carry the conversation forward and be able to extend kindness to ourselves as we move along. And I'm hoping that we'll also get some of the decision makers. We're working on getting our decision makers, particularly those who have the ability to make policies that can help us and also support and galvanize action around some of these causes. I'm also thanking Task. I think Emma is here for the partnership that they have brought to the table for Chime, and I'm hoping that we'll continue to take this forward beyond here. Thank you so much, Chime. Back to you.
Thank you for that, Wale. I really, really appreciate those words. And we've been, it's been a pleasure working with change.org to continue to spread the message on suicide.org and get individuals to sign up and get more aware. One of the things you guys can do right now is you guys can make sure you sign our petition. We want to try to see, we only have a couple of days left to get to 5,000 signatures. And we'll be starting national advocacy after this policy brief launch. We'll be starting national advocacy to legislators. So if you want to help us continue, please, you can go visit our website and make sure you sign our petition to make sure we get to 5,000 signatures in the next couple of days. Thank you for that, Wale. So suicide right now let's talk about where we are right now in the status quo. Suicide right now is criminalized. And you can see these two statutes right now. People don't know that right now, according to the criminal code and the normal penal code, you can be criminalized individuals with trying to kill themselves by up to a 1-year term in jail. So that is currently the law of the land in the country. And some people may think this is not a big deal, this is not very important. And I can tell you you're wrong. Here is a newspaper article that was dated from yesterday, the 27th. I believe today is the 28th. Yeah, from yesterday. And this is a situation where a person in Ondo was actually arrested and charged with attempted murder of himself because he tried to drink a poisonous liquid. So this just happened yesterday, just to show you that this isn't a theory, this isn't something that's not enforced in some places. This is actually the law of the land, and first responders and security forces do selectively apply this to individuals. So instead of giving people the help they need, they lock them up and they detain them. So this is why we need to reform. This is why we need to decriminalize attempted suicide in Nigeria. The first reason is that it's ineffective. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, many people who commit suicide are depressed. Now, clearly detaining them and locking up in the jail is not going to resolve their depressive symptoms. A study actually done in Ghana found that legal proceedings heighten people's suicidal risk and depression. So when you lock them up, it actually increases the risk of depression, and depression is the leading cause of why people take their lives. Ultimately, there is a study done by the United for Global Mental Health, which is one of the leading advocacy organizations doing work on decriminalizing attempted suicide. And they carried out a survey of different countries, and they found that criminalizing attempted suicide does not deter people from committing suicide. So the law doesn't work based on nationally representative studies. The second is that it increases suicide, particularly among women. There was a study, the first ever done, systematically examining the association between criminalization of suicide and on a global scale by BMJ Public Health, which is one of the leading public health journals. And it found that suicide rates were higher in countries where there was criminal punishment of the act, especially among women. And this study actually held for different types of things like Human Development Index. So it's not a question of the global South versus the global North. Majority religious affiliations, national unemployment. So it's not that people are less unemployed and thus want to take their lives. Holding for all those things, suicide still increases, especially amongst women. In fact, the author said that it pushes women to use more lethal means to inflict self-harm and to avoid criminal prosecution or social stigma commonly faced thereafter. It's also contrary to global trends. Around 50 years ago, many countries had criminalization of attempted suicide and suicide, but this trend has really remarkably changed. From many countries having this, only around 18 countries have it nowadays. And many legal documents and international instruments are preaching for decriminalization of attempted suicide, such as commitments that the World Health Organization has signed on to. Things like I just realized that things like the World Health Organization's Mental Health Action Plan 2020-2030, and then also the Sustainable Development Goals. Here, another argument that we hear often in Nigeria is that we're not ready to decriminalize attempted suicide, Nigerian, but people don't realize that criminalization of attempted suicide is not Nigerian. It's actually imperialist. It is part of British colonial legacy that deprived individuals of rights and thought of individuals as belonging to the state. You can see here, this graph shows that every country that currently has attempted suicide as criminalized is a product of British colonization or is part of a Commonwealth status, which means that it is still kind of has allegiance to the British crown. The only state of the 18 remaining states is Lebanon. So this is really a strong testimony of the challenge that this is really an imperialist policy. And back in 1961, Britain itself decriminalized attempted suicide and passed new suicide reforms. But you know that Nigeria was inaugurated in 1960. So it was right before we are freed right before the British did this. And so we continue this imperialist legacy. It also reduces data, unfortunately. The World Health Organization says that because attempted suicide is illegal, people don't want to report on suicide. They misclassify it in different types of ways. They call it accidental deaths or deaths by undetermined intent or unknown cause, etc. And this, unfortunately, doesn't give us an accurate picture of how to deal with the problem. So we don't devote resources to it, and it continues to remain a challenge. It's also discriminatory. We have the different bodies of mental health law that indicate that psychological vulnerability is taken into an extent. Things like the standing defense is in the criminal and penal codes, and it shows that when people aren't criminally liable if they have some sort of mental disease or natural mental infirmity. So we shouldn't be criminalizing individuals in situations of other bodies of law, but when they impact themselves and it's because of their psychological state of mind, we do not give them the benefit of the doubt. Next, it stigmatizes. There's a study that was done in a number of states, Southeast, and it shows that the criminalization of suicide stigmatizes individuals and has a lasting impact on folks because they're labeled ex-convicts, they're denied jobs, access to healthcare. This is something that's also buttressed by international reports like the Lancelot Commission on Mental Health. And then finally, there's a human rights component to it. The International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights that Nigeria has acceded to recognizes a special right of everyone to the best possible physical and regulations that will harm your help-seeking behavior, according to the World Health Organization. Nigeria has also signed on to the African Human and People's Rights Charter, and this charter establishes a general right for a conducive environment and special measures of protections for persons with disabilities. And people don't recognize as those who have mental health conditions as those who have disabilities. According to the World Health Organization, mental health conditions is actually the leading cause of disability in the world, with causing 1 out of 6 years lived with disability. So what are the recommendations that that this offers? One is that we should expunge the criminal and penal code, making attempted suicide a criminal offense. This is done in countries like India, that is multi-ethnic, has a certain British colonial legacy, is a multi-ethnic. They just decriminalized attempted suicide in 2017. We've also had 2 countries just this year decriminalize attempted suicide. So we're part of the remaining dying breed. Out of all of the countries on the continent, Nigeria is only one of 8 that still criminalize attempted suicide and suicide writ large. Second is that let's give people the actual help they need that's recommended by the World Health Organization by doing things like limiting access to fatal means, like whether it's restrictions on firearms or pesticides that people usually use, giving people life training skills so they don't feel like it's hopeless if they have economic vulnerability, and giving early interventions as well. Next, we need to reject medical detention or other compulsory requirements that involve prosecution. This is according to international covenants like the United Nations CRPD, which is a Convention on Rights of Persons with Disabilities. And it explicitly references forced hospitalization and forced drugging as violations of human rights. And you may think that, and we applaud subnational governments like Lagos that have actually adopted new legislation to decriminalize attempted suicide. But unfortunately, the law in Lagos still indicates that you have to have forced hospitalization and you are actually remanded. So you still have to go through the judicial process, which means that individuals who are psychologically vulnerable still have to face a very complex legal system where they could be taken advantage of. So we need to make sure we decriminalize both at the national and subnational level. And then 2 other recommendations that our policy brief recommends is stakeholder engagement. There's deep-seated moral, cultural, and religious reasons why people do not people disagree with decriminalizing attempted suicide. For instance, thou shalt not kill in the Bible. There's certain Islamic texts that speak against taking one's life. So we really need to engage with different faith leaders, cultural leaders, and things like that in order to try to rebrand and refashion this idea of punishment and deterrent of suicide, and saying that it's not effective. And then finally, we need to develop a robust criminalization transition awareness program. We need to train first responders to how they actually should engage individuals they encounter that may have be psychologically vulnerable, prep them with things like psychological first aid, crisis intervention medication. So the first thing they do is don't think they're crazy and just lock them up and detain them according to law. And then finally, we need to help establish very effective linking situations and systems of referral as needed, giving people safety plans, mental health, and suicide prevention, and other areas of support and services. So with that said, that is the basic thesis of and recommendations and the impacts of what happens when we currently criminalize attempted suicide. I am going to pass it over to one of our speakers, our featured speakers, if he's around, to give his reactions about mental health, and how we think that we can fix this, any reactions that he has to the policy brief that he has just heard. So can we please allow and give a round of applause to music man extraordinaire, MI. Let's give him applause as he comes onto the online virtual stage. How you doing, brother?
I'm well, bro. I'm well. I love that intro, by the way. I felt really hyped, man. I want to say good evening to everyone. Sorry if I look really tired. I've been traveling. And I made it just in time to get on this panel. It's great to see everyone here. I hope everyone is doing well. I want to say that I see in the chat that the petition is actually dropped there. So while people are here, they can go and sign. I just did that as well. I just went and signed the petition there. Chime, I think there may be something wrong with the payment link, just because I tried and it just became very difficult. There's something in Portuguese at the end that got me stuck. But I encourage everyone, please just go. Let's add to those numbers. If you're here and you haven't yet done it, please go add to those numbers. And then one more thing I want to say, just to underline what I said earlier. I really feel as if, like, on important issues in Nigeria, we're starting to see our best people put their necks on the line, put their voices out there and speak up. And it's so encouraging, like in the midst of so much darkness, like just being here, Chime, and watching you talk and seeing the passion and the way there's something that it ignites in me that just reminds me, why there's so much hope. That being said, this is an important issue. And I think you really took it home with the article that you showed us. The way we approach mental health in Nigeria. And I think the thing about it is that when we were younger, it seemed like it was a thing that happened because of juju and like it was far from us. And I don't know if anybody here, if you have your emoji and you can show by show of putting an emoji here, I don't know how many people have realized that this thing is closer to home than we ever would have thought. Like, I have close friends of mine who have, before I come to my friends that have taken their life, I'll talk about friends of mine who have had manic episodes, friends of mine who have had, who have been depressed for a very long time. And, I've had friends that have taken their lives. I have an amazing friend. The person that comes to mind is an amazing rapper, just a great guy called WHP. I think this is so important that we all stand up and we get involved, because we can actually move we can move forward. And that's the amazing thing about this petition. It's the amazing thing about this call for action, is that we can actually make a difference on an important issue if we show up now. And I'm here. When I was asked, I showed up. I'm here to lend my support. I'm here to donate if that's what it takes. I'm here to vote. I'm here to use my platform so that we can move forward, because I think that the world is so difficult right now that conversations around mental health, around suicide, around depression are no longer a thing for the villages and villagers. It's now here. It's around all of us. And it's important for us to show up. I'm going to pass the microphone back. Thank you, everyone. Again, apologies if I sound a little bit tired, but it's great to be here, and I'm going to sit in the room and enjoy the rest of the conversation. Thank you, bro.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think that, I mean, there's been a lot of conversations right now around mental health and creatives. So can you just maybe touch on that real quick for individuals in terms of how that we should be thinking about this, because they're having those conversations in their rooms right now.
Yeah, I mean, what a moment, right? To even talk about this. Like we're witnessing at scale a conversation around mental health, around suicide, around, because if you're following the whole story around Mohbad's death, the conversation is not just him, it's other people that were part of this, conversation. And again, in the music space, we're seeing so many people take their lives. So many people take their lives. And I'll add this as well, that, most musicians, or a lot of musicians I know, seem to me to be, like myself, neurodivergent. And in a country, so that means ADHD or maybe a slightly autistic, or, and that's what adds to that creativity, that gives that extra ability to do things with your brain. I don't know if, the more I talk about my ADHD, I see people relate more. But the thing about this is that it actually has a physiological toll on you. And sometimes as we go through life, especially as this country is so difficult, you think about where the musicians are, especially in the genre that I'm in, rap, hip hop. It's a lot of like people that are carrying emotional burden, a lot of trauma. And I think that, again, as I said, the conversation is here for all of us. It's here for me. I used to think about I was one of the people that never thought I would have suicidal thoughts or anything. And like 2-3 years ago, I went through a period where I was just so down, like a few days. My energy just drained for like a few days, and I was so down. And when I came out of that period, I left with so much empathy, because I was like, I had community around me. I had, facility to pick me up. But I can't imagine that happening to someone who's like a young father, a young mother, who's dealing with so much. There are people that are dealing with the economic burden right now. There are people that are struggling to find opportunities, people that are struggling with health, people whose parents are struggling. There's just so much going on. And especially in this music space where there's so much trauma around, it's an important issue, bro. It's a very, very important issue. And I'm very grateful that you highlighted that, and you allowed me to cast a light on it again.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We really, really, really appreciate it. And I think that people just hearing your words and knowing that you're neurodivergent and yet if you're having some sort of episode, you could potentially be locked up. I think that is so much empowering for individuals, because lived experience is really a key part of that conversation. So really, thank you. Stay tuned. People are going to get a chance to ask you 1 or 2 questions, but we've been talking about decriminalizing attempted suicide. And to decriminalize attempted suicide, you can go through the judiciary, you can go through Parliament. And one place we're going to is to Parliament. So we have a legislator here. We have the deputy chairman of the House Committee on Justice. Sir, are you on? Are you on, sir? Honorable Ume? Sandu Ume, are you there, sir? He told me he's on, so I'm assuming he's on. But if maybe he's gathering himself, I'll send him a message. In the meantime, I think we should go to Madame Big Brother. Dr. Lecky, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Yes, you are. So if you can come off your video, that'd be great. I'm going to pin you right now. And if you could tell us a little bit about your thoughts concerning reactions to the fact that suicide is criminalized in the country, anything around the state around mental health, and just some words you think about this issue and issues of psychological vulnerability in general. Thank you so much for making yourself available for this conversation.
Sure, absolutely. I think I'll start with the point that how I even got into the mental health kind of conversation. So luckily for me, I did grow up in America where we kind of do talk about these subjects a little bit more often than we talk about in Nigeria. So after my season of Big Brother, I even mentioned in the house, and when I came out, I know for a fact that Big Brother is a social experiment. It is meant to affect your mental states, like actually the reason that it was created. Big Brother is not just is a stem off of an actual experiment that was done in maybe the 50s, 60s around Hitler and all those kind of things. So it's actually meant to break you down to your rawest form. So I mentioned that in the house. And when I came out, I also mentioned that in a plea to urge the viewers, the fans, the haters, the trolls, the what have you, to be a little bit easier on housemates because we just went through a traumatic experience. It may look like a television show and it's just entertaining, what have you, but we're literally locked in a box with over 50 cameras watching us for 24 hours for 100 days. I think you can imagine how insane that is. You don't have a phone, you don't have a book, you don't have a pen, you don't have ice cream, you don't have your man, your girl, you don't, it's chaos. So it is a mentally destabilizing situation. So I spoke about how that experience, of course, it affected me, it affected my housemates. And I think it also affects the viewers because we can see now everyone is crazy when it comes to their favorite Big Brother housemates. So that's how I got into the space of talking about mental health, and people became interested in what I was talking about. And somehow I was invited both to South Africa and to Geneva to speak with United for Global Mental Health on their Speak Your Mind campaign. So I've always been passionate about just being kinder, just being more understanding. Things may happen in life, but let's kind of understand mental health. So that was 4 years ago, and we're still having this conversation now. Fortunately for us, the conversation is booming, is boosting. More and more people are talking about it. More and more people are engaged. But of course, we need to do more. For example, when I posted the flyer that I was going to be, on this panel, one of my friends immediately sent me a message like, "Oh, is suicide criminalized in Nigeria?" She had no idea. So most people don't even know that this is even a thing. So she had absolutely no idea. And she was like, who did they arrest? Who's to blame? I'm like, well, they're going to call you an attempted murderer because you tried to kill yourself. So that's kind of why we need to have these kind of conversations, because most people have no idea that this is even a situation. And to piggyback off what MI was speaking about Mobad, I think I even have a more distinct opinion about the situation. I truly believe that there will not be as much positive interest or what have you if he had committed or attempted to commit suicide. Because it seems like he was murdered or people ganged up against him, everyone's kind of feeling pity or sympathy or what have you. But if it was he that took his own life, people would be much harder on the situation. And that's why we need to have these kind of conversations, because it is still a mental health issue and it still needs to be something that's addressed. The same way I noticed that Omale put out a tweet, and he wrote that, new album coming out. He's so happy. He's in a blessed mood. He's in a good mood. And so many of the tweeters were like, this album's gonna suck because Omale makes his best music when he's depressed. How can you even function your fingers to type such rubbish? They probably think it's funny, but it's absolutely not funny, because Omale has spoken so many times about being depressed, having suicidal thoughts. Yeah, that's how he made his music, but we should want him to feel better. We shouldn't want him to be in a place of doubts so we can be enjoying his music. Funny enough, the first time I saw an interview where he said that he was depressed, I actually sent him a DM. I don't know him from anywhere, but because I'm so passionate about mental health, I sent him a DM. He didn't see it, but I think that's what we need to do. Anytime we see things like this, we see people talking about depression, feeling bad, feeling sad, friend or no friend, I think we all need to play our part in trying to rescue our brothers and sisters as we are trying to fight for this policy change. We know it's going to take some time. We know Nigeria, there's hurdles here and there. So I think we all can do our bit to try to educate and also try to, it was Insta blog maybe. Someone was on Falamo Bridge in Lagos. The person was trying to jump off, and luckily maybe like two guys, grabbed him back. And I think that was an amazing feat to try and talk someone down from trying to end their life. It's not even an easy conversation to have. So I think we all can, if we see, don't turn a blind eye. Do your best to try to educate, encourage, aid, and of course, whatever you need for us to do to continue to push this policy forward. I think we all should do it. I signed the petition a long, long time ago. So yeah, I think it's just We just need to see all of us, even in our own spaces. Many of us believe that we understand mental health or we know what's best, but we probably all still have some more learning to do. So I just urge all of us to continue learning, continue educating, continue being the best brother, sister, citizen that we can be for everyone, and actually trying our best to get this policy, you know, these changes made. I do have a little, you know, I'm always gonna, you know, say my own, even if I have a different opinion. I noticed you said that there, the recommendations are that there should not be mandated, there should not be mandated maybe mental health checks or something like that. I want to mandate, maybe not a force, but I think there needs to be some form of mandate because of Nigerians as a society. Even if you do your research, you realize Nigerians seem to, for some reason, react better to brute force than kindness. So I would be in the force of maybe a once a month therapy session. I don't know. I don't really have the idea, but I don't think it should be, I don't think it should be only allowed to the person to make up their, you know, make up their mind or make up their decision. Because again, like we said, it affects the entire ecosystem. Everyone is involved in this whole entire situation. So as Nigerians, we generally do not even take mental health therapy seriously. So I think we need to kind of instill that people do take this therapy. It's usually just us that kind of know about it, that go for therapy. The people that need it don't go. So I am of the opinion that if this kind of situation happens, there should be a little bit more, I don't know the word, but a little bit more force, not really demanding, but there should be, I think there should be something. But yeah, that is it for me. I just want to encourage everyone to keep fighting the good fights. I appreciate all of you taking time this evening to join us and have this conversation. It's such an important conversation, and I hope that we get all of the, I hope we get all the change that we're, you know, working for. So that's
Thank you so much. We really appreciate your comments. I think you said some things that were key there. You said kindness is important. I think it was key. You also said that you tried to DM Omole, he doesn't respond to you. But I know that if somebody tries to DM you, you're going to respond to them. So just to use your own formula. So let's keep that in mind. Let's keep that in mind. You also said that you're going to do what you can in order to continue to push this issue. And so thank you so much for signing the petition, encouraging other individuals to do that. We would love to continue to partner with you, with MI and others, so we can get the word out, because like you said, a lot of people don't know. And then the question in terms of mandating mental health, I think that that's a conversation. I think it's a lovely debate that we can have in general in the future, so we can encourage the different perspectives and opinions on this. But what I would say is that mental health is about family, community, especially when you think about it psychosocially, and you really want to support individuals going forward. And so to support them, you need a community, right? To encourage them, whether it's their family, their friends, to make sure that they need to help and support. If you force them, that trauma may persist, or they may do things like we saw the other day where somebody's detained in Ondo State, and they actually tried to take his life in prison and things like that when you mandate. So we need to be careful about that, but I think it's a larger conversation and larger debate. And there's some best practices that is in the policy brief that we have in terms of trainings and things like that. So I'd encourage everybody to read the policy brief after that. With that said, you mentioned momentum towards change, and the change comes with the national legislators. And we had a couple of technical issues, but Honorable Barrister Sunday Ume is here. I'm going to add him right now, unmute him. He said he had an issue before. Oh, it says I have to ask you to unmute, sir. Let me ask you to unmute and see if it can work this time. And I can ask you to start your video. So, sir, if you can you see, are you on now, sir? Honorable? So it says I'm asking him to unmute. Let's see, sir, are you there? Okay. Maybe we'll try to figure out. Maybe we'll try to figure that out a little bit more. But we still have, as we try to figure out getting him to unmute, he can hear us, he's here. It's just getting him to unmute and get on this video. We do have another representative of government here. We were just actually together from the Federal Ministry of Health, working on a new roadmap for the Mental Health Act. Again, the Mental Health Act was passed in December, and we've been working together with the Federal Ministry of Health to work on a couple of different policy reforms. So Dr. Tunde Ojo, who is the National Coordinator of the National Mental Health Program of the Federal Ministry of Health, joins us today to give us his reactions and some thought about mental health and suicide prevention going on in the country. Sir, Dr. Ojo, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. I don't
Greetings.
know.
Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah. So can you see me?
Yes, sir, we can see you.
Yeah. So, good evening, everyone. Thank you for this great opportunity to be at this meeting. And I must say that I'm very excited to be here. And to the previous speakers, great job. And I think, let me just quickly say that I'll say that mental health is everybody's business. And I think the array of panelists, I think you've done a great job making it a very rounded conversation. And I'll just say some quick things. One is that if we talk about decriminalization of suicide in Nigeria, I would say largely, I think all of us, almost all of us, I won't want to say all of us because I know that we still have to keep on this conversation to some section of the society, and that some people still don't believe that we need to decriminalize suicide. But I think most of us in this room and beyond knows that the way to go is by decriminalizing suicide, because it's very important. It's not, suicide should not be seen as a criminal issue or attempted suicide, but as an health issue. And when we see it from that perspective, we see from a very humane perspective, I think that would be a game changer. And for us as a country, I think we have moved away from whether it should be decriminalized or not decriminalized. It is about how we are going to go about it. And I know that even in the past, in the last National Assembly, I know that there was an attempt, a near attempt, to try to soft pedal on it. But I think for us, it should be all or none, reducing it to community service and the like. It's not the best way to go. We should fully decriminalize suicide. And so that's why I'm excited that we are having this discussion. And the Nigerian Mental Health is bringing this to the fore, telling stakeholders that, this is, if we really want to decriminalize suicide as a country, this is what we should be looking at. And I must commend you, Chime, and your group for this amazing work, setting this platform for us to have this conversation. And I think I would not have done justice to this session or my appearance on this platform on behalf of the government if I do not speak quickly on some of the things that we have been trying to do to go on this journey. Before I say that, let me just quickly say that as MI has also bring it forward, and Lekki, the truth is, the discussion about suicide or decriminalization, I think we should see it as a window of opportunity to talk more about mental health, because we must not forget that mental health is everybody's business. And in as much that suicide is a very big issue that we should be looking at, the truth is that we should use it as a window of opportunity to increase awareness and mental health literacy so that everybody demystify this thing called mental health. Because when people hear about mental health before now, largely it's from the very diseased model. Somebody's sick, somebody having depression. But talking about mental well-being, how can we promote our mental health? How can we prevent mental health? So these are discussions that we should be having. And so quickly, what is the government of Nigeria doing about this? And of course, Chime and others in this space can allude to the fact that in the last 16 months, we have not rested on our horse. The biggest one for us as a country is the National Mental Health Act that was assented to by the president on December 28th. And that kind of revolutionized everything about mental health in the country, giving room, taking away the archaic lunacy law of 1958, So this kind of make mental health a right-based issue. And apart from that, having that in our kitchen, just like he has said, it's not enough for us as a country to have a mental health act, because we know there are so many countries that have acts, and it's just sitting down there. So that's why presently we are developing an implementation roadmap on how the act can be transited from a document and be operationalized for everyone to be able to work with. And I must say that document, among many other things, talking about the right of people living with mental health conditions, it also speak to increasing access to mental health, and even specifically mention suicide prevention strategy. And I'm happy to tell this platform that only about some few weeks back, the country has already validated a national suicide prevention strategic framework. So the strategic framework is to give everybody, the stakeholders on the platform, on what you and I can do. It's not only for the government, because mental health is everybody's business. Prevention of suicide, all of us have a responsibility in that regard. And in some few days' time, we will also be validating the national mental health policy. And so these are some of the things that we're doing. And as we finish the roadmap, I can say that the government of Nigeria is committed to decriminalization of suicide. As you have mentioned earlier, that there are pathways to follow, either the judiciary pathway or the parliamentary pathway. We, as the National Mental Health Program at the Federal Ministry of Health, we are seriously considering, of course, in partnership with stakeholders, that we think the parliamentary pathway may be the best way to go for us. And I'm very happy that an honorable member from the National Assembly is here. I'm very excited to see you, Honorable Sir. And I know that the journey to decriminalization of suicide begins here tonight. So thank you, everyone, for being here. Yeah,
Thank you so much, Dr. Ojo. And I think that Dr. Ojo just shared a lot of amazing information of the things that are going on in Nigeria. Can we give government a round of applause? It's not always that we have officials in government that are working. We're usually criticizing, but I can tell you, as somebody who's an advocate in this space, the Nigerian federal government is making a whirlwind of efforts in the mental health space with a lot of different policy reforms. And we have one government official to another, and it's working now. Barrister, Honorable Dr. Sunday, it's great to hear from you. I'm going to put you on. People want to know. We've been talking about, sir, decriminalizing attempted suicide. It took me so long to figure out what committee this might go to in the Senate and in the House Assembly, and everybody said it's justice. So, sir, what do you think about this issue? What do you think about mental health in the country? What are the priorities that your committee is going to be working on? It would be great to hear the perspective of the National Assembly on matters such as this, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, and good evening, gentlemen and ladies. Sorry that it seems that we had some glitch along the way, but I thank God it's sorted out. Well, my name is Honorable Barrister Sondu Meha. I represent the people of Ezeagu, the federal constituency in Enugu State.
Be the next challenge. I don't know if that's my internet or. Is it my internet?
No, we can't hear him. I think it's network.
It's from him, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, thank you, because I was going mad, crazy. I didn't know. I said Airtel, don't do me Jaga. When we wanted to hear the man himself respond to our important issues of the man. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna give Honorable a second to maybe reset his internet. So we know that even the powers that be are impacted by the issues of Nigeria. I'm glad. I thought it was just us small people, but apparently everybody's impacted by that. What we're gonna do is while he comes back, we're gonna open up this conversation for questions. So if you have questions, you can either raise your hand or put your questions in the chat. And we're gonna allow all the panelists to come up. If you have questions for Dr. Ojo, if you have questions for MI or Dr. Lecky from Big Brother, please write your questions in the chat. Or in rare instances, if people behave themselves, we'll allow them to come off of mute and ask their question. So if you can raise your hand, and we will, if you can raise your hand, and you guys can ask questions. So we have one hand raised. Let's see if I can figure out how to do this. Let's see. Okay, that's Dr. Martins. Dr. Martins, if you want to come off of mute
Yes,
and
good
ask your
evening.
question.
Yeah, good evening. Mine is not a question. I want to make contribution to the discussion. Can I go ahead?
Yeah, sure. And if you have other questions while she's there, you guys can be writing them down in the chat.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. I want to make contribution to the discussion, not a question per se. I discovered I'm a mental health counselor. I am a lecturer too, and I go to schools. I talk to children. I talk to youth in higher institutions, and I discovered most children are depressed. Youths in our schools are depressed and they don't have anyone to talk to. You know, now we are discussing about suicide from depression. There are so many.
We can hear you, Ma. Ms. Martins?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. And
Hello?
Dr. Joe, Dr. Lucky, MI, if you guys are available, you guys can come back off. You can turn your cameras back on, so because they can ask questions to any of us. Dr. Lucky,
Can you hear me,
Dr.
please?
Ojo, Dr. Lucky, if you guys are available, please turn your cameras on so they can ask questions. Yes, Ma, we can hear you.
All right, so I discovered so many of them are depressed, and the campaign or the enlightenment to talk about mental health should be. It's not just parents or adults that are depressed. Depression is more now among youth and even children in primary schools, because I go to primary schools to talk to them. And like today in the office, I had some 500 level students, and I gathered them and I spoke with them. I discovered so many of them, they have issues, they are depressed, they really don't know what to do. And again, the fuel subsidy removal, the poverty in the society is actually affecting most of them. You discover that most of them don't have money to actually take care of their needs in school, and they are depressed, and it's affecting their academic performance. So at the end of the day, nobody's actually looking at them. They'll feel, okay, children cannot be depressed. What are they thinking about? They are children. They are depressed. I work with them, and I've discovered that so many of them are depressed. I think we should look for opportunity to reach out to these ones and make it loud that depression is real. There are so many people affected with negative.
Thank you, Dr. Martins. We really appreciate the comment about children, about youth. I see Honorable Barristers here. I'm just going to let Does Dr. Lecky, MI, Dr. Ojo, do any of you guys want to respond to the comment, the comment from the lady before we go back to the barrister?
Well, maybe I can speak to that. I don't know. Yeah, from the government perspective. So I must admit the fact, and it's not peculiar to Nigeria alone. The truth is that the mental health is a very neglected area globally until presently. But even among the neglect of mental health, the mental health of young people are the most neglected, and more so in low and middle income countries like ours. So, and just resonating with what you've talked about, the truth is that most of mental health problems, 50% of them have started before by the age of 14, and 75% of them by age of 23, 24. So, and I've seen as a clinician, I've managed people 8, 9 years old that are having depression. I've seen people in undergraduate and they are telling me about their suicidal behavior, ideation, right from primary school. And so when young people, there's nobody they can talk to because it's more or less like a taboo. Oh no, mental health is the adult issue. So don't tell me that children have it. But this is the statistic staring us right before the face. And at this point in time that we are reviewing the mental health policy for the country and stakeholders have been in a meeting, one of the areas that we are strengthening is the area of mental health of adolescents and young people. And one of the ways that we want to address that going forward is that we believe that school-based mental health program will be one of our strategies to use. And just like you have said, both from primary, secondary, and tertiary level. As we begin to operationalize our mental health policy from next year, we can assure you that this is an area that we are going to address. And of course, the truth is tax shifting. How many mental health human resources do we have in the country? Very, very, very low. And even the very few that we have, apart from the JAPA syndrome, they are concentrated in very few places. So we are going to use a very innovative approach. What are the existing structures in school-based setting, like university, secondary school? What can we get counselors to do? What can we work with guidance and counseling unit of university system, set up mental health support in those institutions, among others. So these are the way to go, and I can assure you that we are thinking in this direction. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ojo, for giving the government perspective. And he's so right. And just so people know, because we're talking about suicide in general, this is actually facts that are in the suicide prevention policy that we're currently working on. That there was 2 studies mentioned in the suicide prevention framework that we're working on collectively as stakeholders. And these 2 studies said, one, that one of the 2 risk factors for suicide in Nigeria is somebody being a student, and then being aged 25 to 34 is associated with increased suicidal behavior as a risk factor. Another study said that attempts and suicidal ideations amongst young adults between 18 and 34 years old are one of the key risk factors. So it's something to think about when we talk about youth, etc. Now we have our honorable distinguished barrister. Thank you so much. We thought that we are the only people who face challenges when it comes to Nigeria and internet. We're glad to know that you're one of us. So please, sir, we would really love to hear your insights and thoughts concerning this issue of suicide prevention and the House Committee on Justice.
All right, thank you very much. Our contribution will be very simple and straight. It's just to say that, first of all, we'll recall that in 2021, the regime of former President Mohamed Buhari signed the first Nigerian mental health bill into law. And that was the law that replaced the Lunacy Act of 1958. That was a milestone, just like the other speaker observed. That was an achievement on the part of Nigerians. And this time around also, be rest assured that the National Assembly is very ready to receive whatever be the outcome of this engagement, this dialogue on this all-important issue. To decriminalize suicide or attempted suicide, it has to be the collective decision of Nigerian masses. Once the advocacy continues, the awareness continues, and Nigerians comes up with the conclusion that the best bet or the best option to tackle the issue of suicide or attempted suicide is to decriminalize it and embrace other options. Be rest assured of the maximum cooperation of the National Assembly. After all, our purpose of being here is to make laws for the good governance of Nigerian masses. So to us, it's a welcome development. But like I will observe is, before we come into that conclusion, let us explore other avenues and options on how possibly best we can achieve the issue of making sure that the issue of attempted suicide or suicide reduces drastically in Nigeria, because there are a lot of factors responsible for it. Even if you decriminalize it and it's no longer a crime, will that go a long way to also reduce that act, the issue of attempted suicide or suicide? The problem, does it lie in the law or does it lie in other factors? What are those things responsible for these attempted suicide or suicidal acts? The areas we should place best, interest and importance on. So for Nigerians, I want to assure you that the members of the National Assembly, the House of Rep, and our Committee on Justice were ever ready to embrace whatever be the final decisions of Nigerians on this issue. And be rest assured of our maximum cooperation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Those are amazing words. We would like to pay you an advocacy visit, you and the chairman on the House Committee on Justice, so we can further engage you on this issue of decriminalizing attempted suicide. Is that something, and especially considering that this September is Suicide Awareness Month, and next month is World Mental Health Day. Is that something that we could facilitate so we can go through some of the discussions that you've had here?
Just be rest assured, any day, anytime you propose, we'll be there to receive you.
Well, you guys heard it. It was recorded live that we will be doing an advocacy visit where we'll present formally our policy brief to you and explain some of the rationale to decriminalize attempted suicide. We're hoping that with your efforts, we can discuss this issue and really bring this issue to the forefront. One last question, sir. So attempted suicide is currently criminalized in both the criminal and penal code. So in the Northern Penal Code and in the criminal code. If we're going to decriminalize attempted suicide, is it one bill that will decriminalize both? Or is it two separate pieces of legislation to decriminalize the one in the penal code and the one in the criminal code?
Well, it would depend on the legislation. For example, the National Assembly will only make laws with respect to matters exclusively in the exclusive legislative, or other matters will have powers to. But when it comes to the issue of offenses, it will only legislate to the extent of those offenses that falls within the purviews of our power. If, for example, the Penal Code, it is a state legislation, you know that it's the House of Assembly of the given state that will have to carry out the amendments or the repealing of the law to decriminalize it. But it has to do with the national legislation, then that is where we will also play our own part. So when you come, probably we'll look at the law on the issue of attempted suicide and know whether it falls within the federal legislation or within both the federal and the state legislations. But the most important thing is that we have to start somewhere. So till your visit, we will be there to receive you.
Thank you, sir. You guys have heard it here first. We'll be visiting the House Committee on Justice and discussing this issue. So thank you so much for that, sir. We're gonna bring you and our other members back to the panel. So we have a couple minutes left. If individuals want to ask any questions to any of our panelists, please ask away, or you can raise your hand or ask it in the chat. I've already seen some chat. So if you have any questions, please either raise your hand and we'll have our panelists for a couple more minutes. If you have any questions or comments. Any other questions or comments from anyone? Well, okay, let me see. I think I see something in the chat. This is probably for you, MI. There's a comment about Nigerian creatives. It says, I feel Nigerian creatives should incorporate mental health issues they face in their arts, as it'll likely reach a wider audience. I know you guys have a conference, for instance, coming out about art and creatives. And you're doing other work in terms of creatives and art. Do you want to respond to this issue again?
Yes, I agree with you. Let me see the person's name, if I can say the person's name. Hawa. Hi, Hawa. I agree with you about the fact that we need to highlight it more. I would say that there's a lot of amazing art out there actually talking about this, like even Omale, who was mentioned earlier. There's a lot of people that are talking about mental health. They're talking about their challenges in different ways. I have an album called The Study on Self-Worth that I think a lot of people point to as a good place to listen to conversations around that. But I do agree with you that we need to let me say it like this, we have an amazing opportunity to use our arts for change, especially in a time when a lot of young Africans really need hope and really are looking to culture for direction. The other thing that I saw there that you said, which is, the conference. Oh, yeah, thank you. Next week, from Sunday to Saturday, 7 days, we're having a conference called Ignite. Ignite is about connecting creatives to advocacy. So if you care about your country and you want to give back, the funny thing for creatives is that there's a lot of opportunities as well. You know, you think about how many creatives are here. I'm here, Anto, I mean, just to mention, but I'm sure there's so many other creatives in the room, people who are silent poets, silent graphic designers, and we can actually use all these skills for good, especially in this time when the country really needs us. So we're connecting people to partners in the advocacy space throughout next week. It's called Ignite. You can just go to my page and you see the information there. But I want to say that the third day is the second day we're focusing on health and wellness with a focus on mental health. And so many people that I hear are going to be there that day. We want to really have a conversation around mental health, around trauma, around bullying, around this gang culture. We want to have a conversation around drugs. We want to have a conversation, like that's another secret killer that's driving a lot of people to the brink as well. People are getting ruined in betting. There's so many things that are going on right now that, so please, if you're interested in that, thank you, Chime, again, for giving me the opportunity to highlight that. Check out Ignite. And we have partners here as well. So many of our partners here as well. It's going to be fun in Lagos next week. Okay, I'm shutting up again.
Thank you so much. We have another question, and I'm going to pass this one to Dr. Lecky if you think you can handle it. The question is the comment is around stigma. That stigma is one of the major factors. People hardly don't speak up. So confidentially for me is very important, except when it's turning out harmful. So what do you think about stigma and speaking out, etc.? What would be your take on this?
Yeah, I was going to even speak on that point, especially when it comes to the creative space, because when people say speaking out, more than likely they're talking about people who have a platform, because when you speak out, you expect people to kind of give you feedback. So that comes to the point of why many times creatives do not, I don't want to use creatives, let me use public figures, because creatives are anyone that can create. Let me just use public figures, people that just end up on an Insta blog or just lover. The reason many people do not come out is because of the stigma, because we've seen it time against number when a celebrity, an artist, an actor comes out and says they're facing depression, they're going through, money issues, family issues, what have you, there's typically more negative remarks than positive. So that's why I mentioned earlier that all of us fighting this good fight, we need to amplify our voices. We need to, teach our brothers and sisters to also be positive. But that's often what the issue is. You kind of want to talk about your business. You kind of want to share your ideas. You want to share what's going on with you, especially if you actually love your fans. You want to share. You want them to have a little bit of insight in your life. But oftentimes when you come out, people are lambasting you. We've seen it with Ianya. We've seen it with Harry Songs. We've seen it with so many people that they've come out and they've spoken about, depression, suicide, close to bankruptcy, divorce, so many things, but they're often faced with negative remarks, and that's why people are afraid to speak. I recently talked about a health issue that I had, and even my own people were like, Anto, why are you telling people this thing now? I'm even sharing it because I know that there's probably someone else going through my similar situation, and they wish there was a public figure that was also talking about it. Many people are looking for answers, looking for help, but because creatives or people are afraid of speaking, this is what's leading to more people having depression because they don't know who they can speak to. Like we said before, not everyone wants to talk to a doctor. Some people just want to talk to that guy or their favorite celebrity. But because of the idea of stigma and not wanting to come out, people are afraid of the backlash more than not. So the stigma is a big one. So that's the reason I think all of us here, like I said, we all have a part to play to at least being our brothers and sisters keepers. Everyone is not going to jump on this bandwagon with us. Let's just be honest. Everyone's not going to understand what we're talking about. Everyone's not going to, rock with us. But we that can, we should try our best to make things a lot easier for the person that wants to come out with their topic. So yeah, it's a balance. Some people, they want to share. Some people don't want to share. That's why some people don't want to even go to therapists because they still feel like, what if this therapist goes and tells my mom or some, all sorts of crazy things. So I think, again, it belongs to each of us as an individual that we can try to offer ourselves as a listening ear. Every few weeks, I always tweet and put on Instagram to my followers that anytime you have an issue, please send me a DM. And I tell them, don't ask me for money. That one I know will answer you. I need now. But if it's an actual issue, if it's some form of help, if it's just to listen, if you just want to type your long paragraph and I send you back emojis, I'm always available for that because I realize that most people just need a listening ear. So I think that's part of it. Everyone's not going to want to come out with their issue, but if someone does come to you, do try your best to aid them in their situation.
Thank you, Sas. Barrister Honorable Sunday, I want to ask you this question. It came to my DM and I want to ask you this because when we think about legislators and men, we don't think about mental health being an issue for us. And this is what the question is should there be a concern with promoting mental health care because it may result in a generation that's emotionally and mentally fragile? So I'm curious what you would say to something like that, where if we promote mental health, it means that we may be promoting young people that are emotionally and intellectually fragile.
Well, for me, I don't think it will result to that. Promoting mental health awareness is very important because when you have the basic knowledge, it will go a long way to reduce the act of maybe other forms of mental issues. Even the issue of attempted suicide and whatever. The awareness is important. I don't think that promoting it has any negative impact or will it in any way, be a disadvantage to the society. I don't share that opinion. So for me, it's something we should embrace. We should do whatever we can to promote that idea and promote it to the last. Just like the last speaker said, the issue of stigmatization is also one of the reasons why people keep these things to their hearts. And by the time they store it, I guess up there, you see them take up to either suicide or attempting to commit suicide. So the awareness creation is very important. That is my own opinion.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I think it's powerful coming from you because of how the position you hold. Emma, I know you have something to say on this.
I really wanted to talk about this from a personal perspective. Before I had done therapy in my life, I used to think that strength was more like, let's say somebody offended me. I would be like, you know who I am? Blah, 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 blah. I used to be like that, that version. And people tell you, of course, people that know me know I'm not the largest guy. I don't get muscle. But people can tell you that I can be quite feisty and be quite forceful. When I started understanding myself more, I started caring about my mental health more, I started growing more in that regard. I started becoming more calm under pressure. And do you know what I discovered? That was harder to do and it's stronger. It makes you stronger. Like for instance, don't tell anybody I'm saying this, you guys, in my marriage now, do you know that sometimes I'm growing in the capacity to be calmer and be like, okay, and listen to something. And it's like weightlifting. Now, why am I saying this? The idea that mental health makes you weaker. I actually think as somebody that focusing on mental health makes you weaker, I actually think it's actually concurrent. I actually think that the more we're able to understand our emotions and be able to sit with our emotions and be able to not be reactive, but to be proactive, that the stronger we become, even if that strength doesn't look like what our traditional models of strength are. So what does that mean? Like now, for instance, they say men don't cry, for instance. I think what maybe they were trying to say is that men should be strong, which I agree, but what does crying? You can cry and be strong. Do you know what I'm saying? For instance, if I'm going on a rant. I'm going on a little bit of a rant now. I realize I'm going on a little bit of a rant. But the point I wanted to make was I want to always talk about this to share with my brothers and everybody that's out there, especially the men, that listen, guys, this idea that focusing on your mental health is going to make you weaker is actually not true. It's actually going to make you stronger. Is going to produce in you a new kind of strength, a new kind of like calm, a new kind of being able to balance yourself in different situations. And I really, really, really want to stress this and share this with people because that is my experience. The older I get, the more I realize that if I'm able to allow my emotions be expressed in a healthy way, if I'm able to understand what's going on, I'm able to worry about my mental health, that then I become much more productive. I become much stronger, much able to take on more pressure and able to do much more, yeah. Thanks for letting me share that.
Thank you so much for that. And this has been amazing. I want to give each panelist, even though we're a short of time, just 30 seconds if there's a closing thought that you have. 30. Okay, Emma, you've done your own. If there's one last message that you have for individuals, and I'm going to start with, let's say, ladies first. So, Dr. Leki, if you have one last, just 10-second, 5-second last words for the audience.
Sure. I always say anything that I'm doing, always, as much as we're fighting for others, please fight for yourself. You take care of yourself. This work that we're doing is a lot of work. It's difficult. It's not easy. Like we're on a Zoom at 7:30 p.m. My Netflix is waiting for me. So please, whatever you're doing, always take care of yourself because the way life is set up these days, it can go left very quickly. So please, and whatever you're doing, please just always take care of yourself. And thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you for that. Honorable Barrister, please, do you just have last word?
The last message from us is that you should be rest assured of our maximum cooperation anytime, any day, as far as this advocacy is concerned. Legislative-wise, we'll always be there for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And a finding from the Chief Champion of Mental Health for Government, Dr. Ojo, what would be your closing remarks for the audience?
Well, so what I would say is start thinking about your own mental health, what you can do for yourself, and what you can do for others. And that on part of government, we'll always do our best. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we're gonna use this time to take a group picture, and not just with the audience, not the panelists. So if you want to capture the panel, we're gonna smile just like we're there. You can capture it. You can do screenshots. We'll do this for 10 seconds. So smile, panel. For those of us who want to. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. I hope my team took pictures. I hope my team took pictures. So thank you so much, guys. We're gonna do some closing remarks and then we're gonna get out of here. Let me just unpin individuals. There were some good questions about what are next steps. So I want to about what are next steps. What do we do now that we've had this conversation? In terms of going forward. So let me just share my screen. And thank you so much to the panel. Can we give the panels a virtual round of applause in the chat? Can we give them a virtual round of applause in the chat? And using your, thank you. Let's give them a round of applause. So much. Such great conversation. So we've done the question and answers. Now you guys might be wondering, what are the next steps? Remember, you're not alone. This is part of a network and coalition for change. And you can see this is part of our activism when we're getting the Mental Health Act and pushing it to get passed. So the first thing you can do, and I hope this is in the chat, is that you can go and sign our petition to decriminalize attempted suicide. You see, we're almost at 5 signatures, and we'd love to get to 5,000 signatures. Post it on your status, share the link. It is on our website, www.org. Also, if you visit our website, you'll see on the right there, you can get a copy of our policy brief. Our policy brief is currently, our policy brief is currently on, our policy brief is currently on the, our website. It's on our homepage. It's also on a tab. It's also on a tab that on the top that says Suicide Not Crime. On that tab that says Suicide Not Crime, you can click on it, you can get the policy brief, and you can get a link to the petition and learn more about why you should decriminalize attempted suicide. It's now currently available on our website if you want to read about the rationale to decriminalize attempted suicide using evidence from the World Health Organization and other peer-reviewed journals. The next thing is you can volunteer with Nigerian Mental Health. We just had a recruiting drive where we had over 50 people who wanted to volunteer. So if you want, just send us a message on our social media or on our Instagram, and we'll send you a link to apply to be a volunteer so you can work with us and maybe be one of the individuals that attends with us to the advocacy visit to the Honorable, where we're trying to decriminalize attempted suicide and make sure we work on these wellness and psychosocial reforms. Finally, I like to know that a lot of people here, you may be experiencing some suicidal ideations. You may be going through a challenging time. You should know that it's okay to ask for help and it's okay not to be okay. If you visit our website, we have a list of crisis hotlines from the federal government and from the members within our network, those like Serpin, to organizations like Sunshine Series, to Manny. There are organizations that can help you if you just want to call or talk to someone. So just visit our website and it says crisis hotlines at the top and click. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And you can share this resource with your friends. Recently, a friend contacted me and said she was depressed. I pointed her to the website and she called a couple of numbers until she was satisfied and she got help and now she's undergoing therapy. She actually wanted to take her life. And if you're wondering where to follow us, and stay tuned for the next chapter in the journey, whether it has to do with the policy briefs or the other work we do, you can follow us on all these platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn. And also, again, visit our website. I'll leave it here as we depart. But I want to just thank one more time all the panelists for attending this conversation, our partners from change.org and from Nigeria Health Watch, and all the Nigerian mental health members that have made this possible. Really, let's give them all a round of applause for making this work possible. Thank you, guys, and everybody have an amazing rest of this Suicide Prevention Month. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you, Tim, everyone.
Thank you.
For
Thank
a
you.
great meeting.
Thanks, guys.
And is MI still on? Is MI still online?
Let me see if he's still on the line.
And Dr. Lucky.
Um,
Oh,
I'm here.
yes,
great.
you're here. If
So we
MI is
want to
not on, I'll tell him.
we want to see what you guys can do to help the National Mental Health Program,
Okay.
and in terms of influencing conversations around mental health.
Sure. I'm
I
available.
think,
Let me know.
okay, that would be great. Thanks for that.
Problem.
Thanks, guys. And Dr. Ojo will connect you with MI as well. I'm sure he'd be interested in collaborating. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, it's
Thank you
been a
guys.
very hectic day. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Bye, guys.